One night in a quiet village in medieval France, the villagers hear something strange. Soft, low sounds from a secluded convent. Almost like a cat meowing, but not quite. At first, they thought it's just stray cats. But then the sounds come back the next night, louder than before. And by the third night, they're impossible to ignore. Their curiosity turns to horror when they discover what's really happening. The sounds are not from cats, but from the nuns in the convent. They're meowing obsessively and in harmony. But how could devout, disciplined nuns suddenly start behaving like cats? This is the strange story of the meowing nuns of France. In medieval Europe, a convent wasn't just a place of prayer. It was a place of discipline, sacrifice, and rigid structure. For some, it was a sacred calling, a genuine pursuit of faith and devotion. But others didn't even choose this life freely. Families often sent young women to convents for various financial and social reasons. Inside the convent walls, the daily rhythm was harsh and relentless. There was no laughter, no freedom, no warmth of normal life. Only routine. It's within this pressure cooker of religious devotion and social isolation that something deeply strange began to unfold. And it all started with one nun. During her daily prayers, she paused. Her lips, which should have formed a sacred hymn, instead puckered, and she let out a soft, trembling meow. The other nuns who heard this sound thought it was a joke, or a simple lapse of composure. But the next day, surprisingly, more nuns joined in and began meowing. And the next day, even more. The phenomenon kept growing until it spread to every nun in the convent, like a disease. The villagers in surrounding neighborhood were surprised and confused as they tried to figure out what was happening and why. But in a deeply religious medieval society, there was only one sensible explanation. It was the devil's work. The meowing was without a doubt associated with cats, who were often linked to witchcraft or the devil in medieval society. Nuns meowing like cats sounded like evil's doing, not an illness. So the obvious solution was to rid them of this demonic possession. The church stepped in to take control. Priests were summoned and exorcisms were attempted. The nuns were made to fast, confess, and undergo purification rituals. Holy water was sprinkled. But rather than stop, the meowing seemed to mock the very effort to silence it. When the clerics failed to drive out the supposed evil, the matter was handed over to civil authorities. Soon, soldiers armed with rods surrounded the convent. The nuns were told that they would be whipped with rods until they promised not to meow anymore. Faced with violence, the nuns stopped meowing. And just like that, one of the most bizarre episodes in medieval history came to an end. The story's undeniably fascinating, but the big question is it true? What we know about the meowing nuns comes from two books. One is The Epidemics of the Middle Ages, translated from a German work by Babington and published in 1844. The other is a psychological and philosophical text, Solitude by Zimmermann, a Swiss philosopher and physician. In The Epidemics of the Middle Ages, Babington refers to the meowing nuns incident in the footnotes. He writes that he read about an incident in a good medical work where nuns meowed together and that a company of soldiers provided with rods put an end to it. He doesn't add much to the story apart from this little footnote, and doesn't clarify which medical work he's referring to. In the other book, Solitude, published in the 1780s, Zimmermann describes the event briefly. He writes how a nun was seized with a strange impulse to meow like a cat, and how the whole sisterhood joined in meowing. Zimmermann refers to a French medical writer and keeps the story pretty brief. Both Babington and Zimmermann refer to earlier medical works as the source of this story. But to date, we haven't found any other literary work mentioning meowing nuns. So this leaves us with the possibility that either that earlier work from where Babington and Zimmermann got this story is destroyed, or is currently lying forgotten and undiscovered in some archive somewhere. Whatever may be the case, all we know about the meowing nuns comes from these two passing remarks published in two different books. No other historical work provides any more information. So we're left to wonder what truly happened, and even if it happened at all, we can only speculate as to why. The most commonly accepted explanation behind the Meowing Nuns episode, assuming it happened, is mass hysteria. Under the stressful conditions of convent life, one nun's breakdown could have sparked a chain reaction, just like similar episodes in history like the dancing plague in 1518. Or it could simply be a legend or an urban myth that made its way into folklore, then into popular culture, then onto the internet. Whatever may be the case, one thing is for sure that even today, the mystery of the Meowing Nuns remains as unsettling as it is fascinating. What do you think really happened to these nuns? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such stories from our past. And as always, thanks for watching.